Alright, left a couple seconds to gather up all that static so I can eventually cut it out of my video. So, I cut out a bunch of footage from the last video because it was mostly just me rambling about different things. It's really boring. Anyway, it's just really boring. Take a couple seconds to load in, and so what can I do to not make this video as boring? I found that boredom is actually pretty difficult to fend, to ward off, so that's definitely something I need to work on. I do not know how to not be boring, but it's definitely something I'd like to work towards. So today we do something more interesting than running around in circles and going into the forest and such. So this will be an episode of exploration. We need food. Food is something that we need. We can start by planting our crops. They'll eventually grow and produce something. But actually, what we need is a bucket so that we can actually make these wheat fields wherever we want. So for a bucket, we need iron. And for an iron, we need a cave. Food is a necessity though, so I may need to slaughter some animals. I may actually need to sleep though because it's almost sundown. So the best source of food in Minecraft is actually the cow. Beef has the highest level of saturation as well as the highest level of actual food bars, food units that it fills up. It fills up the same amount as pork. I believe it's 4 units. However, it satiates your hunger to a greater degree than pork, which means that your hunger actually depletes at a slower rate, or at least it won't deplete for a while longer. Yep, your hunger will last for a while longer. Okay, food. Where should we find food? There's a cow over here. Hello, Mr. Cow. I'm going to vanquish you if you don't mind. Pick up some leather. Leather can be useful. What for? Well, good craft books. Eventually, we'll be able to enchant things, and then we can improve and upgrade our future armor and tools, and that would be awesome. Bye to you too. People are attracted to confidence, and being did I make a second crafting table? I must have done that subconsciously. What I meant to do is make a chest, but it's too late for that. So each unit of coal actually allows you to cook 8 units of whatever. Planks, I believe, can be used to cook 1.5 units of something. Something like that. So 2 planks would cook 3 things, I'm pretty sure. I may be wrong about that. What we really need is more wood. Running out of wood is a very bad idea, especially if we're going down in a cave. We run out of torches. That's really not ideal. Did we sleep? Yeah, we did. So that's something that a lot of YouTubers do, I think. We're all drawn to habit, right? Your actions are based on habit. And I guess that's where I sort of got the idea that YouTubers might be socially inept, in that they would have already created the habit to, you know, pursue socialization in more of like an isolated way, like not with other people, more so with themselves, because otherwise talking to yourself is a very, very odd thing to do. It's something you have to become accustomed to. So it's my theory that a lot of these YouTubers are either, you know, weird, or they fake it, or they should fake it until it becomes their own new norm, right? I mean, anything you practice, you'll get better at. So at first it may be difficult, but you'll eventually become comfortable with the uncomfortable. And that's what I hope to gain through this, becoming uncomfortable with talking to myself. I don't know why I'm training that muscle. I mean, it's not something that's particularly useful. Except for brainstorming. I kind of wanted to brainstorm. I wanted to make a game. I thought making a game on Roblox might be fun. I mean, I could also pick up another language. Ooh, llamas. Or the alpacas. There's a way to check. I think F3, it shows you what mob you're looking at. Does it? Yeah, entity, target entity, it's on the right. Targeted entity, Minecraft, : llama. So these are llamas, not alpacas. So I said I wanted to go into the cave, because I need to find iron so I can make a bucket, and a pickaxe may be useful as well. So let's go down into this one. Lighting up your cave before you descend into it, before you stop to actually mine things, is a really great idea, because entities and mobs, hostile mobs, can spawn in the darkness, right? So you have to be careful about that. I tend to just leave the torches in the caves because I don't want things to spawn behind me, regardless of whether there are, useful ores or not. Just the chance of having the odds of having a creeper just, sneak up on you, I'd rather not test those odds. Because, you probably didn't watch my last episode fully. I mean, I wouldn't, but that happened to me, and that kind of freaked me out. I keep trying to block with my sword. That's something that you used to be able to do before the 1.9 update, but now what I need is a shield. So that's actually on a priority list, a shield, because skeletons are very difficult, very annoying. So I think that iron might not spawn. I believe it spawns, or generates, I should say, below level 63, so we actually won't be able to find any iron in these caves. We'll have to go down lower, actually, and it's a bit worrisome because that's a bit annoying because I just torched up this entire cave and I'm running low on torches. Not to fret, I can make more. But we need to go lower. So this one seems to hit a dead end. So maybe going through a mountain isn't such a good idea. The only use of mining in the mountain, if you don't want to worry about ravines. Ravines are fairly rare. Honestly, mining in mountains is just a bad idea. You shouldn't do it. And I should have actually logged my coordinates of my base. I should do that. Because I cannot lose it. If I lose it, then I have no home. Then I'll have to make a new base. Which isn't really a big deal, but still. definitely want to keep track of where my base is, so I'll just screenshot that, and you know what, I may as well just put it in chat. Negative 314. That's a good way to keep track of where all of your bases and other, line markers are. Just type it in chat so you can look back at it and find your way using the coordinate system. The y-axis isn't as important, of course, but yeah. Okay, let's look down here. This may... Okay, it looks like it goes back out. Flint. So, flint is a useful thing. And mining this gravel is actually useful. A lot of people hate gravel because it falls on top of you when you mine, and if you're doing a strip mine or making a strip mine, ooh, pumpkin. Gravel can get pretty tedious. But gravel is useful for making arrows, for bows. It is the only way to obtain flint, I'm pretty sure. So it's definitely a necessity. You can't go without gravel. Unless you'd rather fight creepers and skeletons via melee, but you're putting yourself at a severe disadvantage. It's a very bad idea. Very terrible idea, actually. So, Tobuscus, he came up with the songs, actually, to liven up his adventures. He sang a song about a sword. I can swing my sword, 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 I cannot afford. You can't afford. Singing is not my strong suit, but I figure if I do it enough, I get better at it. I don't have a reference pitch, though. So, for all I know, I might be singing a B 3/4 flat. Microtonality. My reference, what do you call it? My relative pitch isn't that great either, actually. That's something I should be training. Well, I can always train it right now. I don't have anything to correct myself. Okay, it's starting to get dark. Okay, we're going to have to survive, because I don't want to run all the way back and figure that out. So, a cave. Cave would be a great place to stay tonight. So, we are at a ravine. Ravine is a terrible idea. I mean, things are already spawning, so I think we should just stay away from this for now and find an actual cave. Like, this is a pretty layered cave. Pretty difficult, especially at the water, but we can camp out here. It's not an issue. Plus, we can possibly get experience from incoming mobs. On second thought, no, I don't like that cave. I changed my mind. And you can change your mind. This is Minecraft. There are no rules. There's no set path. It's all about what you want to do. Right now I'm scaling a mountain. A song about scaling a mountain. Anyway, the main reason I chose to record this, and I hope I am recording, I am, okay, is so that I could brainstorm about the game I wanted to make. So I was thinking, I had tried making a game before. Well, it's not that I'd failed, it's just I never finished it. I had been making a game, and before, this is like 4 years ago, but I was making a speedrun game. Now, on Roblox, there's already a pretty popular speedrun game, and it's fairly basic. I mean, it was made like 8 years ago, so beating it shouldn't be that much of a hassle, and I don't think anyone has really tried to improve upon the game that's currently popular. So how the game works is that there are different levels, right? You start at the first level and you're basically running. I mean, you're speed running. and you're jumping over these blocks, like you're basically trying to avoid obstacles. Well, not even avoid obstacles, but more so just jumping. It's basically like parkour, like Minecraft parkour, but simpler. And yeah. Now there are different ways I could improve upon that model. They tried to spice it up, adding collectible cards. So every now and then you come across this card that you could you basically collect them, and that made things a tiny bit more interesting. But still, the gameplay is not really that not really that great. There isn't much to do except for jumping over blocks over and over again. I mean, sure, there are harder maps and such, but the challenge remains fairly constant. And the reason why is because the obstacles are just variations of the same kind. You're always jumping over a block. You're traveling at a set velocity. You have a set jump height. There are no boosts. All you do is you jump off of a block and you land on the next block. And if you figure out the timing so that you're pretty much jumping at the edge of the block every time, then the challenge is you can't improve upon the challenge. I mean, you can make blocks thinner, you can distance them more, but even the distance between you and the block is not something you can really expand upon, because in the game you're traveling at a set speed and it never changes. So there are flaws in the game, and to make the game more exciting, it could start off simplistic, like the model that the other game has, so that the player can actually kind of integrate themselves into my game by connecting to their skills in a game that they're already familiar with, and everyone's familiar with speedrun. So it could start off simple, and then as you progress through the levels, you will gain certain abilities, or different levels will have different boosts, like for example a jump pad or a speed pad or something that propels you, or even a time sort of thing. Maybe you slow down or you speed up. That would be exciting. But there has to be some sort of incentive for the players who are not patient. So when they first join the game, what can I produce at face value that will motivate them, or I mean make them more interested in my game rather than playing the other one? First of all, the other game's really old. The graphics are terrible. They use the default unaltered rig that every Roblox game uses, which is basically an R6 rig. I mean, 6 different joints, set animations. Does not have any procedural animation. It's just completely static and boring. So adding some procedural mechanics to that might actually make it more fun. For example, animations. Inverse kinematics might be much. I mean, calculating an angle and setting the mortar position of a joint, I don't know if that's really that expensive. But it's not particularly useful, actually. Because if you're running at a high speed most of the time, inverse kinematic joints are not a good idea. If you don't know what inverse, I mean, they don't really add much to the gameplay. If you don't know what inverse kinematic joints are, it's when the position of your foot, your leg, or the different joints. Well, I mean, this certain application of inverse kinematics. It's when you this specific application. It's when you have 2 points. You have the hip point. You have the position of your hip joint, and you have the distance of your hip joint to the ground. That's displacement value. And then you have the 3 or n constituents of your limb, and the maximum or minimum angles that each joint can be, right? For example, if you have a foot, a lower leg, and an upper leg, you might have distance from the ground, and if that distance is greater than the sum of the lengths of all your joints, then no matter what angle you place your joints at, your foot will never touch the ground, so you are in free fall. However, if it's equivalent, then your knees are pretty much locked, and if it's lower then you can do some inverse kinematic math to set the angles of the joints and create a sort of crouching or bent knee position. Which, yeah. But that's not particularly useful in this case. I can create, well, it depends. That's an idea, inverse kinematics. I mean, I guess that would make things more interesting. For example, when you land, having the character really seem like they're absorbing the impact might be useful, and to different degrees might make it feel more immersive. For example, if you jump off of a small ledge, you hit the ground, your force of impact will be less if delta y is fairly small. But okay, I'm way too far with my base. I think I'm just going to abandon it. But we should get some string for a bow. I mean, I think I have enough, but something else. So inverse kinematics, that's an interesting way. Or procedural animation, that's an interesting way to make the game more interesting. Something else. Updated lighting system. Roblox is constantly updating their lighting system and graphics to allow for more detailed maps and better, just reflections and such. Just the lighting, dynamic lighting and such is just getting better and better. But building and modeling is not my strong suit. I barely know my way around Blender, so I guess I could pick that up as a skill. I could watch a bunch of tutorials and start messing around with that and figure out different objects I could integrate into my game, and I guess that would be useful. That could work. So, more detailed maps, perhaps, as long as I'm only loading one map at a time, adding particle effects, minimal particle effects, and adding some dynamic detailing to the map, like for example animated textures or objects that move, could add to it as well, because as it currently stands, I mean, as far as I know, I haven't played the game in a couple months, or maybe a year or so, but as far as I know, yeah, we're gonna have to kill some cows. I apologize for all the chickens out there. Minecraft vegans, I have no idea why you would do such a thing, because these are barely AI. That's something else I wanted to experiment with, is artificial intelligence. You can create that in any game development environment, even though Roblox might have a simplistic programming language. The only limitations you would have is the speed at which you train the artificial intelligence. It might be much slower because Lua is a slower language. Lua is the programming language that Roblox uses. So the generations that it takes to train an AI might take longer, but AI has been done before. There's a game actually called Vehicle Simulator, and they created an AI for cop cars that will chase down, criminals. It's not a great AI. I mean, we're still talking about Roblox, right? A lot of these people are either teenagers in high school or procrastinating while getting a computer science degree. So, like, I don't know. But my interests are, I have very, very narrow scope of interest, and for that reason I find it very difficult to actually connect with different people. So I should do things that I enjoy, and whether it differs from the norm or not shouldn't really matter. I'm gonna cut this off at 20 minutes actually. Oh, 25 minutes. Okay, well, I have no interest in cutting this video. I kind of wanted to talk about how I would actually start the game, but that's fine. No biggie.